This podcast is brought to you by the Heldridge Hotel, New Brunswick's only 4-star hotel and a preferred hotel of Rutgers football fans. The Heldridge helps you make the most of your game day weekend, providing premium accommodations in the cultural heart of downtown New Brunswick. Restaurants, bars, theaters, parks, museums, and more are only steps away. Whether you're traveling alone or with a large group, book your stay at the Heldridge and make the most of your game day weekend. Visit theheldridge.com today.
In postseason football, you need to find that extra gear. On FanDuel, it's called Playoff Mode. Big boosts, more rewards, and a whole new way to live parlay with Drive SGP. Turn on Playoff Mode, only on FanDuel.
New customers bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. 21 plus and present in select states. First online real money wager only. $5 deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com.
From NJ.com and the Heldridge Hotel, welcome to the Rutgers Rant, your one-stop podcast for the Scarlet Knights. With your host, Steve Politi, and Rutgers insider Brian Fonseca. Let's start shopping.
Hello, all. Greetings from Jersey Mike's Arena, where for some reason I cannot find an angle where the light does not shine upon me like a halo. You guys can take whatever conclusions you want from that. So I apologize again from the visuals. I'm trying a different place after every game to figure out what the best visual is. But anyway, more importantly, let me know how my audio sounds. I'll get going on my reaction to Rutgers' overtime win, 77-75 over Northwestern in a little bit. But first, I have to make sure that, one, you guys can hear me, and two, my visual isn't sputtering in and out like it did last time. I'm at the mercy of Rutgers Wi-Fi. Most times it's good. Sometimes it's not. I see some comments already in the chat before I even got in, so I appreciate that from all of you. I guess we'll just we'll start there because these guys were in here before any of us. Thank you for letting me know the audio was loud and clear. Much appreciated. Akiri, my guy, did not say hello to me after this game as well. I'm assuming it's because he was not here, and I'm assuming he doesn't want to show up anymore because every time he doesn't come, Rutgers wins. So I agree. A big win for Rutgers in that, again, this is not going to turn the season around or change the expectations of the season, but this is 2 home games against 2 beatable teams for Rutgers that they win. They win them in overtime. Good for Max Steiner in the Rutgers Rant Discord. Rutgers has won 7 straight overtime games in the regular season, and they're 11-1 in their last 12 regular season overtime games. That's worth something. That is worth something. You know, we can debate the strength of the opponent, but to win 2 straight overtime games is and especially the Oregon one, the way they did, that takes some guts. So credit to Rutgers there. Rutgers won 2 winnable games against Oregon and Northwestern. They are now 2-4 in the Big Ten. More importantly, they are 2 games above the 3 last place teams, Northwestern, Penn State, and Maryland. I know a lot of people picked Rutgers to finish last in the Big Ten. I picked Rutgers to finish last in the Big Ten. I'm not totally wavered off that yet, but to win these 2 games against 2 teams that you're not even really competing against for that spot, you're really going against Penn State and Maryland. That puts you in a place where Rutgers could avoid being the last place team in the Big Ten for the first time in 7 years. And that means, or 8 years. That means something. It doesn't mean a whole lot, but it means something to not finish in last place. So big win for Rutgers. Agreed with you there. Akiri, Dr. Josh Fink, another regular in the chat, says a great win. Massive difference between teams 1-12 and 13-18. Rutgers may actually be the 13-14 spot at this point in the season. We look on par or maybe better than PSU, Maryland, Oregon, Northwestern, maybe Washington. I wouldn't go that far, but I do think that what was the preseason outlook was that there were tiers in that Penn State and Rutgers were easily the bottom 2 teams in the league. That was the consensus. That was preseason votes. That was preseason chatter across the magazines, across the polls. And I think what we've learned now is that, one, Penn State and Rutgers are not that bad. It appears into the worst bottom 5 teams. I think you're correct that muddle, Penn State, Maryland, Oregon, although Oregon has been without its best guard, which makes a big difference. Imagine Rutgers without Tariq Francis, for example, and imagine what they would be like now. But the results are the results. And I would agree that those 4 teams, Penn State, Maryland, Oregon, Northwestern, Rutgers, Washington is debatable. We'll see. I think they have enough talent on that team, and Sprinkle's won enough games at Utah State that they may be able to turn it around. The start has not been great. But I could see Rutgers, if they continue to win winnable games. If they sweep Maryland and Penn State, they obviously won't finish in last place if they do that. But they can certainly get up to, I think 15 is probably 14 to 15 is probably the absolute ceiling, right? Rutgers did win these games. It's not like they dominated these teams. They, again, for time to beat teams that are on par with them near the bottom of the Big Ten. So still, Rutgers could prove itself to be the best of the worst, if that makes sense. And, again, you take that for whatever it's worth, but it is better than being consensus last place. So Dr. Josh Fink says, pickleball. I don't know if it was pickleball. I mean, the team scored at 1.17 and 1.9 points per possession. That's a lot. That part of that is because there were no real turnovers on both sides of the ball. These teams combined for 12 turnovers between them. That's not a lot in a game that had 120 possessions between the two teams. So there was a lot of opportunities to score. Northwestern had 13 offensive rebounds on 48 misses. So a little under 25%, which is, I think you take that if you're Rutgers. I apologize. Rutgers had 13 offensive rebounds on 48 misses. That's 25%. Not great. Northwestern had 11 rebounds on 37 misses, which, again, you take that. So there was a game with not a lot of offensive rebounds and second chance points, not a lot of turnovers, and pretty much what it looked like. I'm going to look up the shot chart here because this might be the anti-Illinois shot chart game in that it felt like there were a lot of mid-range jumpers. Rutgers shot 25 non-rim twos, which, again, is way too many, if you ask me. Let's pull up the shot chart. You guys liked it for the Illinois game. It's not much less egregious for Rutgers, but the opponent was similarly egregious. Let's go here. Okay, this was the shot chart. A lot of mid-range jumpers, a lot of non-rim twos. Rutgers, I mean, compared to what it was against Illinois, it looks better. So this was a matter of this was a game essentially where the three-point shooting was equal. Northwestern made 6, Rutgers made 6. The free throw shooting was marginally different. Northwestern made 17, Rutgers made 19, and it came down to mid-range jumpers because, again, Northwestern made 8 shots at the rim, Rutgers made 10. So there's the difference, the slight free throw difference, and then the mid-range jumper difference. So in a game where there were a lot of bad shots taken, Rutgers made more of their bad shots. We'll go player by player in a bit, but let's go through the comments real quick. In total, Iowa and Illinois took 3 mid-range jumpers, and they have 2 forward-thinking coaches, I think. Brad Underwood has been ahead of the curve for a while, and Ben McCollum has been grinding away in Division II and proved himself to be a modern coach at Drake, and is continuing that at Iowa. I think he has a chance of taking Iowa to a really good level. Thank you, Dr. Josh Fink, for saying the halo looks cool. I will be less self-conscious about that. Mike Broadbent from the Night Report podcast says there's a new football portal commit. I hear it's a running back. I know it's out there. I haven't looked at it yet. I'm a little busy covering basketball. Well, we'll get to that. Does Rutgers need to take more mid-range jumper? Squidward Testicles. I should not have read that name out loud. He asks, I think they take more. They could make a run at the conference tournament. I'm assuming this is in jest. No, they should not take more mid-range jumpers because you essentially have to have a game like today where you hit. Let's do the math here real quick. I know you guys love math. So Rutgers made 26 shots. 6 of them were threes, so that's 20. 10 of them were at the rim, so 10. They made 10 mid-range jumpers in 25 attempts. That is 40%. That's about at the high end. You can expect a mid-range jumper. So, no, I don't think they need to take more. I think they need to take less. I think they need to generate more threes. I will say they probably need to generate less threes for Harun Zerno, who went 0 of 6 on threes. He's really struggling from deep. And aside from that hot stretch he had in late November, early December, he's really been struggling shooting the ball, and it just feels like he's in a really big slump. So not to single one guy out because Rutgers didn't shoot particularly great on threes, but, Jermichael Davis continues to shoot really well, 2 of 2, including a huge one in overtime or at the end of regulation. I can't quite remember, to be frank with you. It was at the end of regulation, 2 minutes left. It's a big three-pointer to keep Rutgers their buffer ahead of Northwestern. And Tariq Francis went 2 of 4 on threes. He went 10 of 22 from the floor, shot 4 threes. That ratio has to go much higher. And Derek Buchanan, who was the hero of the game, which we'll get to, he took 3 shots within a foot of the arc. He stepped into the arc to take shots. He made 2 of the 3. Those are not ideal shots. All is well that ends well, I guess, but I think the shot selection could be better, and it gives Rutgers a better chance of winning against teams that aren't equal to them at the bottom of the Big Ten. Alana Cohn asked, when will Francis start? I don't think anytime soon, because he's scoring 30 points off the bench every game. I think Steve Pikiell has kind of found a formula there that he's a bit of microwave offense off the bench. I think clearly there's something to the fact that he came on the starting lineup against Seton Hall and really struggled, and there might be some psychological thing there where he's more comfortable coming off the bench. Certainly the results prove that, and I just don't think you want to mess with that if you're Rutgers, because that's I don't know if it's 3 straight home games, because he did it against Penn, he didn't do it against Oregon State, but he did it against Ohio State, but he did it against Oregon, and now he's done it against Northwestern. Don't all teams make the Big Ten tournament? Correct. Rutgers does make the Big Ten tournament automatically. They changed that rule after 1 year because the league is no fun, and I'm sure the teams that didn't make it were not happy about it. And the league, obviously, the more teams that are in the tournament, the more games there are, the more TV inventory, yada, yada, you know how it is. I liked of a team having to qualify for the tournament, but I don't think my opinion matters much in the Big Ten office. All right, so we've run through the questions. I'm going to go through the box score right now. You guys can throw in some questions as I go. So JaMychal Davis, 10 points on 3 of 4 shooting, 2 of 2 on threes, 2 of 4 on free throws, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal. He did foul out in overtime, but about as efficient of a performance as you could ask, maybe outside of one ill-advised drive to the rim and obviously the 2 free throw misses, about as good a game as you can get from JaMychal Davis offensively. Defensively was not exactly locked down, but I thought he more than did his job. What really killed Rutgers was Martinelli, and that was the product of Northwestern giving him the ball a ton and asking him to do a ton, much like Rutgers did with Tariq Francis, who's next on the list. 30 points on 10 of 22 shooting, 2 of 4 on threes, 8 of 9 on free throws, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 turnovers, 1 steal. He did what he was asked, which was they put the ball in his hands and they said, get us a bucket. Very often he took 22 shots. The next closest person was Darren Buchanan with 13 shots. And more often than not, he came through, took a lot of mid-range jumpers. That's just kind of his game. Chris Collins, Northwestern's coach, essentially said that they don't want to give up layups. He wants to contain and force Tariq Francis to shoot the mid-range jumpers. If he makes them, he makes them. But you can live with that. What killed him was the layups. Other thing Northwestern did well defending him was not fouling. He only got 9 free throws, which Chris Collins said was a lot. I think 9 free throws on 22 field goal attempts is a pretty good ratio. They didn't really fall for the pump fakes as much as Oregon did. But ultimately, again, 30 points in a game where Rutgers needed to score as much as it did, obviously. 3 assists, 2 turnovers isn't great, but I thought he did his job offensively and did what Rutgers needed, which was to put points up on the board to keep pace with Northwestern and dig them out of that early 12-point hole. Darren Buchanan, the hero of the game, not named Tariq Francis, 14 points on 4 of 13 shooting. Not great. Kind of ugly. Forced the layup down the stretch. Again, took some ill-advised mid-range jumpers. Barreled his way. He's still kind of finding his way offensively. But he did get to the free throw line 10 times with 6 of 10. He did, at the end of regulation, he missed a free throw with a chance to put Rutgers up 1 with 2 seconds left. That would have won the game. And at the end of overtime, he missed the free throw with a chance to put Rutgers up 3 points, giving Northwestern a chance to go down the court, tie the game with a 2, win with a 3. He made up for that by running down to the other end of the court, covering Martinelli, and when he saw the Northwestern guy drive to the rim, he gets up and blocks the shot as time expires to seal the win. One of the more clutch plays Rutgers has had in a while here. It's not 1-to-1 because Caleb Block at Ohio State was 1, more meaningful, and 2, did not come at the end of the game, but it was the first block I can remember being as meaningful for Rutgers since then. He has 10 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 block, 2 steals, 0 turnovers. 2 straight home wins in overtime where he makes clutch plays in overtime. He's kind of finding his way, right? And I think he expressed that to us in the postgame. He said he has a sign above his door to stay consistent, and I think he's finding some of that consistency. I've liked what I've seen from him so far. He's getting better after some early season struggles that even he himself admitted to us he had. So I think that's an encouraging sign for Rutgers that this is a guy with another year of eligibility after this year. If he can kind of fit the mold of the defensive guy, gives effort defensively, can rebound, and make some strides offensively, I think you have the player that Rutgers hoped they were getting when they got him out of the portal. Let me check through the comments section. A couple of people talking about Caden Powers. Tom says that Powers has been a reliable alternate scorer to Francis. We need alternates to Francis. I agree. Rutgers does need somebody else to contribute offensively. You can't depend on Tariq Francis to score 30 points every game because sometimes he's not going to. And it's very few players in college basketball obviously score 30 points regularly. As the opponents get better, we've seen the struggles get higher. Obviously, the Illinois game, he wasn't able to produce much. When you play a team at a higher caliber with more length and more defensive, versatility that is able to focus on you without giving up much on the other side, it's going to make it harder for him. Powers could be the guy. He certainly has the willingness to shoot. Did not have a great game today. Take it back. Sorry, my mental note from what I watched is much different from the box score. He had 9 points on 4 of 8 shooting. Did go 1 of 4 on threes, so that means he went 3 of 4 on twos. 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 turnovers, 0 steals or blocks. Hit a couple threes. I apologize. Hit 1 3 early on to kind of keep Rutgers on pace with Northwestern, so they didn't completely blow Rutgers out of the water early on. I think the willingness to shoot is there. I think the shot selection and some of the nuances of where to be offensively are still kind of forming, but he's a freshman and he's starting and he's filling his way in. I don't know if he's the guy, though, that is the best candidate for secondary scorer. I think clearly, just to write off guys that we can say are not, Dennis Battleau, again, only played 3 minutes today, 0 points on 0 of 1 shooting, missed a 3-pointer, 2 rebounds and an assist in 3 minutes, which is not bad, but I'm just not sure what the intention is of playing him for 3 minutes. Maybe the guy was tired and then had foul trouble. Fair enough, but I think Steve Pikiell's done well to cut the rotation. Byfall hasn't played much outside of the Illinois game. Javonte Ware has not played. He's kind of cut the center rotation shorter, and I think that maybe it's not worth playing Dennis Battleau for those 3 minutes stints, particularly because he struggles defensively. So anything he gives you offensively kind of gets taken away defensively. Harun Zerno, again, 0 points, 0 of 6 shooting on threes. Some of them weren't even close. 2 rebounds. There were signs early on that he could be the guy offensively. It just feels like now he's so in his head and shooting. I don't know if he's rushed or if he just gets nervous shooting threes, but let's look at the recent game log, because at one point he had missed 15 threes in a row. He has, over the last 6 games, he's gone 1 of 14, 1 of 18, 3, 6 of 28, 6 of 20, 6 of his last 34 from 3. So maybe he is a feast or famine kind of player, but Rutgers will have to hope the feast comes soon. Let's go back to the chat. Powers is a true freshman, potential-wise. I think he's got a high ceiling. Maybe. I could see that. I think Chris Newley has a decent ceiling as a defender as well. I thought he brought some energy in the first half when Rutgers was kind of pulling back towards the end of the first half. Still has a long way to go offensively. Chris Newley does. And I don't know if he'll ever get there offensively. I think his shot needs a lot of work. But the things he can control defensively, I think effort, the body, the quickness, the energy, I think he has that. So I think it's something to build on. And Keenan Powers on the other direction. I don't know if he'll ever develop into a good above average defender, but I think he has the offensive, willingness and skill set to potentially be a decent offensive player for Rutgers. Good job rebounding today. Again, Rutgers only gave up, I shouldn't say only, Rutgers gave up 11 offensive rebounds on 37 misses. That is a 29.7% offensive rebound rate. That's fine. That's within reason. And they gave up 14 second chance points. The ratio was much worse early on, so Rutgers bounced back in that direction. What was the more impressive, I think, is that they only conceded 6 layups on 17 attempts. So Northwestern shot 6 of 17 on layups. Credit to, part of that is because they were small for the most part, so they weren't exactly dominating inside, but credit to Bryce Dortch and Emmanuel Bole. Bryce Dortch, who got his first start of the season, Steve Michael said it was about a matchup because Northwestern plays small. He finished with 2 points on 1-on-1 shooting, 7 rebounds, block, a turnover, and 5 fouls. He fouled out in overtime as well towards the end. Did his part defensively, and Emmanuel Bole played for short stints. I would like to see this continue. Bryce Dortch starting and Emmanuel Bole coming off the bench. My concern with Emmanuel Bole, whatever he gives defensively, when he's there offensively, Rutgers does not throw the ball into him. Like, Rutgers does not even pretend that he's an option offensively. He's getting position on the center, but they don't even look in his direction. Because, I mean, I agree, it's not a good decision to throw the ball inside to him, but you're playing 4-on-5 offensively every time he's on the court, and I think that's just such a liability. I think you'd rather have Bryce Dortch, who's fine on both ends, rather than Obole, who might be better defensively, but it's just so much worse offensively. I think it's a credit to Rutgers to be able to overcome the massive gap they have at center against other teams, particularly more so Oregon than Northwestern, to be able to get these wins because it's such a disadvantage. Richard Williams says, great game. Rutgers Northwestern always have barn burners at Jersey Mike's. Gio Baker was here. Every time I see him, I think of huge comeback here. Rutgers has won 8 of its last 10 against Northwestern, which is I'm not sure I have an explanation for that. If the inverse were true, I think a lot of people would be saying Steve Michael coaches rings around Chris Collins. I don't know if I want to go that far, but I think he clearly has his number. Even last year, a Rutgers team without Dylan Grant goes to Northwestern and wins that game. It's impressive. It's I guess every Big Ten team has its certain teams that they play against. I thought this with football. Football is 3-0 against Purdue recently. Maybe Rutgers Northwestern is basketball's Purdue in that they just feel like there's some advantage there. I can't quite put my finger on it. I haven't thought of it much, but the numbers are what the numbers are. Tom says Newell needs to be Rutgers Dennis Rodman. I don't think we'll quite get there, but I do think he has potential to be. And I don't want to make the Caleb McConnell comparison because I think it's unfair to Newell, and it's a bit disrespectful to Caleb McConnell. The guy is one of the greatest defenders in program history. It's going to be a very high bar to reach his success. But I will say that I think Newell has the potential to be an above-average defender, whether he gets to Caleb McConnell level or not. If he falls short, I don't think that's exactly something to be shameful of. I just think Caleb McConnell was that much better. J-Mac says, well, we won something. The tournament of the Big Ten basement. Enjoy while it lasts. Listen, Rutgers has beaten the teams it had to so far. The teams we expect them to have a shot against in the Big Ten, they've won. And now the test will come later. They're going to have about a month of grueling games. We've gone through this already, but let's go through it again. Over the next month, Rutgers will play at Wisconsin, at Iowa, home against Indiana and Michigan State, at the LA schools, USC and UCLA, and home against the red-hot Cornhuskers of Nebraska. Rutgers will not play a winnable Big Ten game again until Maryland, February 15th at home. They go to Penn State then. After that, they go to Minnesota after that. They host Washington. They go to Maryland. They go to East Lansing to face Michigan State, and they host Penn State. So their last 7 games, 6 of them are winnable. We're looking at – listen, I don't think Rutgers will win all 6 of them. You split them. You win 5 Big Ten games, and you meet just about what we expected preseason. So we've gone from thinking – well, not we, I shouldn't say we, but there were thoughts of Rutgers maybe not winning a Big Ten game to now they are still on track to meet what we expected of them preseason. That's not good, but it's better to meet expectations than fall short, I guess. Dylan Grant doesn't get into the game at 8:50. It was a non-factor. What happened to this guy? He had the flu. He was sick. Got it through it to play. I agree. He didn't. He wasn't his usual. He didn't make his usual impact, but I thought he had a play or two down the stretch and did about as much as you can expect from a guy, dealing with the flu. He played more against Illinois, so I would imagine he was sicker now than he was against Illinois. Linda Conroy says, I'm correct. Thank you, Linda. Oboizen, you have 4 offensive guys. It's just a massive issue that Rutgers can't fix now. Like, you can't add a guy. I guess you could add a guy to the roster, but I don't anticipate them adding a center. It's something you got to work on. So you got to Obole would pump fake twice to bring the ball down to his knees without anyone guarding him. Yeah, I just don't think he has the offensive skill set. Even cleaning up, getting offensive rebounds and putting it back, I just don't think he's going to be able to do that at a high enough level. Francis, once again, proving he's far away the best player on this team. The Zerno battle-out experiment is over. I think the battle-out deal, he's going to have to dig out of a big hole to reestablish a a role on this team. I think Zerno is approaching his last legs. He's got to start producing again like he did earlier in the season. Otherwise, it's hard to justify keeping him in the game he played how many minutes did he play tonight? He played 17 minutes, right? Like it's at some point those minutes are going to dwindle if you keep shooting 6 on threes, and you can't. That's one of the few things that you're being dependent on to do. Any other players we can talk about? Lino Mark played 11 minutes. Really didn't flash much outside of the end of regulation. He turns the ball over and gives Northwestern a chance to win the game. I believe I have that right. That was end of overtime. He turned the ball over with Northwestern, with Rutgers winning 76-74. Not an ideal moment, but he gets to learn from it because Rutgers ultimately pulls out the win. And I think we've gone through every player. And we've gone through the game. So Rutgers, again, is 9-8 in the Big Ten. Rutgers is 9-8 overall, 2-4 in the Big Ten. They are 2 games above the 3 last place teams, Northwestern, Penn State, and Maryland. Northwestern, Penn State, Maryland. Is this an ideal measuring stick for success at Rutgers in the 10th year of Steve Peichel? Obviously not. How we view this team now, and that you can view this as an indictment if you'd like, but it's through the prism of this is a bad team, and we expect them to finish last in the Big Ten. Finishing outside of the last place in the Big Ten isn't exactly a feather in your cap, but you technically exceed expectations. And again, we've talked about this ad nauseum. This team has to show some fight and some ability to show some life. And to their credit, winning 2 overtime games against beatable teams at home in the span of a week certainly exceeded my expectations going into the stretch. I thought they'd win 1. They won both. And, gives you something to build off of as you enter a really, really rough stretch. So unless you guys have anything else to add in the chat, I will probably be wrapping up this soon. Thank you guys all for watching, for listening, for participating. Thank you to the Heldrick, who I always forget to thank at the beginning, for sponsoring this podcast, for sponsoring our live streams. If you need to stay in the New Brunswick area for a Rutgers game or otherwise, stay at the Heldrick, the best hotel in New Brunswick. Thank you for liking and subscribing. We always appreciate it. Watch Steve Peichels' press conference after on the YouTube channel. Tom says the crowd sounded good on TV. Was it a factor? I thought it got really loud in crunch time when Rutgers won a decision officiating, when they gave Rutgers the ball after a review. I'm not sure. I didn't get a good look. It didn't look like anyone stepped out of bounds. I think the ball was deflected off someone and bounced out of bounds. Anyway, when they gave Rutgers the ball there, the place went nuts. Some defensive plays down the stretch, the place got nuts. It was the vintage rag for bits and spurts. So I do think it played a factor. I think there was, if not the most juice in the building for a game this year. I still think Oregon, when they were booing the refs, had more juice, but if not the most juice in the building, one of the most juice in the building. And again, it's more impressive. It's very impressive for this game and for Oregon because there was about 5,000 to 6,000 people in here, upper 200, and still there was good juice. And yet again, this game was. Let me make sure I verify this before I say anything. This was a sellout, 8,000 strong. There were not 8,000 people in the building, but we'll quibble about that some other time. Paulie P says, "Got to make those free throws. Got to make those free throws." Another example of Rutgers shot decently from the free throw line, 70%, about their season average, but it's the clutch free throws. It happened against Oregon, and it happened today. Buchanan twice with the chance to put the game away, or at the very least give your team a 3-point cushion in overtime, and he falls short. And that's going to kill you in the future if you don't wrap it up. Rutgers got away with it twice, but I would agree that every free throw matters, right? Every free throw matters. They all accumulate, and they all, every point counts. But when you're in that situation, you've got to hit those free throws. I don't know if they're more important than the earlier free throws, but you're giving yourself a chance to put the game away. You got to do it to close the door. Dragon Energy says that it was pretty crowded, maybe 6,500. The 100s were certainly crowded. The student section was pretty full. I think you sold tickets in there to fill it out because students are still on break, which is a fine strategy. I think that's a smart strategy. But the upper levels of the 200s and the 300s were barren. It was kind of like, male pattern baldness. It's like you have a lot in the front, but the sides are kind of fading away. That was kind of the vibe of the 2 to 300s that I saw. But the people that were there made themselves heard, and I think that like the team has a little bit of fight on the court in winning these games, I think the crowd still has a little bit of fight. Again, it's about keeping things manageable, right? If Rutgers had lost these 2 games against Northwestern and Oregon, fallen to 0-6 in the Big Ten, going into this brutal stretch where you could fall into, 0-14 in the Big Ten if things keep breaking wrong, that puts a lot of pressure, that builds apathy, that builds anger. It builds a lot of bad sentiment around the team. To win these 2 games doesn't create euphoria, but it certainly gives you something to hang your hat on, something to discuss. We can talk about basketball now. We're not talking about job security as we were during the earlier parts of the non-conference play. And there's some calmness within the program, right? And I think that's what the program, it's about as good as you could expect from the program. I know it's not what, fans that want more and deserve more and have every right to want more. But I think for where the program sits, I think for the way it's being viewed, for the way the administration expects what they expect to do going forward, which is to give this one other year with more NIL backing than they've ever had, that is a more palatable solution for the fan base than if they were 0-6 in the Big Ten. And it keeps people showing up, which is important as well. None of that is my concern. Obviously, I don't work for Rutgers. I don't work for the administration, but I'm just telling you that this stuff matters in the ethos of the program and how things are viewed. But anyway, on that note, again, unless anyone has any other notes, any other questions, any other comments, concerns, if you think of anything while watching afterward or after we end our Discord, or tweet at us at the Rutgers Rant. We are doing a podcast tomorrow, Steve Politi and I, to discuss the Rutgers football transfer portal, to discuss the basketball team's big week, and whatever else is happening in Piscataway. So until then, thank you guys for watching. Dragon asks if I'm getting my Shake Shack tomorrow. I don't have a ticket, so I will not be able to get my Shake Shack. Is what it is. It's fine. I usually don't get a shake when I go to Shake Shack anyway, so it's not a big loss to me. I haven't been to Shake Shack in a while. Maybe I'll go to Menlo Park one of these days to but then I don't want to fall for the marketing. Then I'll be falling for the marketing, and I don't want to not to sound like I'm not a sheep or anything, but I don't like to be herded, and that I don't want to. Anyway, let's not go off on that tangent. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. Thank you guys for participating in the chat. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for liking. We'll probably upload this as an audio podcast. Let me know if any of you guys watch this on audio podcasts the next day. Let me know if it's worth doing. We appreciate however you guys watch, however you guys listen, however you guys participate. Until the next time, have a good night, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Rutgers Rant, sponsored by the Heldridge Hotel. Head to NJ.com/Rutgers for more Scarlet Knight content.